Hey,
And
everybody.
welcome, everybody. How we doing, folks? UKSG Winter 2022 begins with day 2 in Aid of Crisis. I've got Cryfor here. We're playing Blasphemous. How we doing today?
I'm doing fabulous, actually. Thank you. Looking forward to this run. Yeah, so I'm Cryfor. I'm playing Blasphemous. With me as couch commentary is the wonderful Rocher, who also runs this game.
Hello,
And
everyone.
we will be doing all bosses glitchless today for your very entertainment. So, if tech is ready, I'll count us down to get going. So let's go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
So, we're going to have a Blasphemous All Bosses Glitchless run. So this is basically what you need to do for this run, is to finish the game as fast as possible by killing all the base game bosses. So this game has a lot of DLC available to it. And we will be playing on the version where the first DLC got released, because it's actually the first version where you can skip the cutscenes. And this is one which has the better physics regarding overall movement. It noticeably introduced what's known as Coyote Jump, which allow you to jump a bit after entering the airborne state. So for now, we will be using dash as a main tool of movement. For now, we can dash every 2 seconds, but we will be getting an accessory which will allow us to spam the dodge to move really fast.
Yeah.
Also, we will be using a lot of techniques, and the first one you're going to see right now, which is known as UpCC, stands for up/crash cancel.
I
It's
apologize in advance for my keyboard noises.
So, as you can see, he's attacking really fast, and up/crash cancels consists in alternating 2 action really fast. It consists in alternating up slash, which is an attack that has a hitbox that comes out frame 1, and then crouching, which cancels directly the up slash attack, and then you just go up slash crouch, which make you attack as fast as you're able to mash your keys on your keyboard. You can actually perform up slash crouch cancel on a controller, but it requires you to claw grip and to be really consistent on how you manage to do your inputs. So it's a really difficult technique.
And it's much easier on keyboard.
It's much easier on keyboard as you can map both the up action and the down action on 2 different buttons, so that you can have up, down, and attack next to each other, so that you can actually just press the keys really fast.
Yeah.
We're going to take our first prayer of the game, which is the Verdials. It's actually a spell that goes along walls and ground. It will be really useful to kill some enemies later in the game.
Exactly.
And so the game is divided in 2 main hubs. The first hub consists in 3 bosses, which give you 3 key items. Once you got these key items, there is an enemy that will spawn on the bridge. You'll have to defeat that enemy. Then you enter a second hub where you have 3 new bosses to defeat. They give you 3 masks, and once you have those 3 masks, you can enter the final boss rush in the game. But first, we are going to have a lot of sword improvements. There are those little altars dispatched around the world. There are 7 of them, and all of them will increase the damage you do with your sword. So if you want to have some numbers, your sword does a base damage of 10, and for each altar you take, you increase the damage by 4. So he was doing 10 damage with his sword at level 0, and now the sword is doing 14 damage. I think we are going to take 5 of them for this run, in order to have more damage.
Safety.
And yes, so now we will see maybe the first instance of Coyote Jump, or a really difficult jump, which is actually made. Good. You also have a small technique that is intended in the game, which is called Air Impulse. is when you are in the air, if you press down when you hit an enemy, you will have this sort of bounce, air bounce. Here we have a mini-boss which is called Perpetua, which will go down really easily with the UpCC. UpCC was not an intended mechanic of the game, but the developer actually left it intentionally because they thought you're not going to discover that on your first playthrough, so if you want to use it, just use it, but it's just so complicated that it's not something that impacts the first experience of the game. And no, so we are entering one of the first dungeons, should I say, of the first hub, which is called Hondo. This dungeon has this mechanic of there are those bells, contraptions, that will ring from time to time. You actually have an enemy in each room that is ringing a little bell, and each time this sister rings the bell, all the bells in the room are going to ring one after the other.
A cycle here. Oh. No. Okay, well, whatever.
So that's the enemy right here. So he'll kill it for safety in order to access this. So every time the enemy rings the bell, the bells with the face are going to be doing damage, and the bell with grids are going to ring after being hit. So some of the bells are disposed next to each other in order to, once you ring one of them, the other one will ring. So you can see that you can open glass switches with that. We'll open this shortcut for later on in the game, because there are some save and quits we were going to use throughout the games. Saving and quitting actually save the progress you have made. So if you have pulled the lever, triggered a switch, or whatever, this will be saved. But you will be directly warped to the previous save point you had. So it took a save point at the beginning of this arena. And this will allow to go a bit further. So in Hondo, you have to destroy 2 of those statues holding a chain. It's because in this room, you can actually see that you are in a giant bell that is turned upside down.
Upside down bell.
As you can see here, you have the bell ringer thing. I don't know how it's called in English.
I don't know either, honestly.
And so once you destroy both bells, you could actually activate that, and this will make you go at the bottom of the next area, which is called Grievance Ascends. So here, a nice climb. He's going to take this empty bile vessels. So in this game, you can actually heal.
You can.
Fortunately, because in New Game Plus categories, you can actually remove the ability to heal. And in order to heal yourself, you have to use flasks. And you can have more flasks, but for that you have to find an empty bile vessels, and you have to fill it against some of the money in the game, the in-game currency, which is called Tears of Atonement. Killing this boomerang blade guy for safety.
Well, and also we took the flask for safety. I would usually not take it. But since we're on a marathon, you know. And
yeah, it's safety game, over. So yeah, this game is really punishing regarding platforming, because as you can see, you can actually hang onto a wall or use ladders or everything. When you get hit,
you fall.
When you're a ladder on a wall, you just straight up fall. You can actually catch a wall if you are fast enough. This was not possible on the first version of the game. You could not.
Oh yeah, once you got hit while clinging to a wall, you would just fall.
You would just fall.
I guess. Let's go down here.
And now we're going to be taking quite of a detour, but just in order to get a second sword altar and to increase our attack power from 14 to 18. That makes us have basically 2 strikes worth, 1 strike worth 2 strikes of level 0 animation. And we will be doing our first saving and quitting. And also we will be doing another detour in order to meet up a friendly NPC, which will give us one of the best items in the game, speedrun-wise. So as you could see, Cryfor actually triggered a lever on his way to the altar. And this actually makes Redento able to cross. So for that, Redento gives us the 4th toe made of limestone. That's decrease the cooldown between dodges.
Oh, right. Hold on. Skip it.
So your dodges will be faster when you're using that, but there is some sort of secret trick, is that if you hold down after doing a dodge, you can instantly do a dodge again. Which is really, really powerful, as the dodge is the fastest way of moving in this game. And that's why we're doing a rondo first, because for this only ability to have instant dodge cooldown is the way we do that. We had a small optimization here, is that he rang the bell a bit to the right in order to avoid a long fall animation.
Come on, don't grab the ledge.
And now we're in Grievance Ascent, and we have our first arenas. So the first arena consists in 2 ghosts. In 1 ghost with a bell, and then we will have 2 ghosts with bells. You can actually trigger them only when you go close to them, so he managed to take care one after the other. And those ghosts tend to go really fast and go off screen, and you can't hit them, so the way Cryfor manipulated those was really good. And then we have rapier ghosts. So in order to do that, you have to parry. And after a parry, if the enemy is close enough, you can go for a riposte.
Nice.
And that was really good. He actually managed to kill both of them with 1 hit.
I was surprised. Usually when they both end up on the same side, it's much harder to hit them both in one go.
Also, something that you might notice if you're paying close attention to the sound is that Cryfor is only using the flask when he's about to transition from one screen to another. That's because when the penitent uses a flask, there is a small sliding animation that converts your momentum to the flask using animation. And by doing that really close to a screen transition, you can actually have the momentum cancel out the animation. So now we have a really, really good execution on Tres Augustias, which is one of tough boss. And this actually took advantage from a property in the game which is called multi-attack multiplier. There is no...
I think I call it air attack multiplier.
Yeah, I call that too. But what basically happens is that there is a programmation oversight in the game where when you hit 2 enemies with an upslash or an air attack, you're actually doing twice the damage to both of them. And if you hit 3 enemies, you will do 3 times the damage to all 3 of them. And because this boss is 3 instances of an enemy, and you're hitting the 3 of the same at the same time, 3 of the enemy at the same time, you're actually doing 9 times your damage with 1 attack. So the boss has just his life gets completely melted, and that's how we managed to kill the boss really quickly.
Yeah, that's also a thing we use on a couple other bosses or enemies in general. Also worth noting, I might add, for the air attack damage multiplier, it also applies to the up attack, as far as I'm aware. So that's why it's even more powerful, because you don't even have to be in the air technically to use it.
So we had Cryfor take 1 health upgrade. You can actually have a small optimization where you can trigger both an interaction with the lady that gives you the health upgrade at the same time you're triggering the cutscene, resulting in 2 upgrades at the same time. It's a technical double health upgrade. It's actually a glitch, but at the beginning of the game, the people moderating it were using it, not knowing that this was a glitch. So it just slipped through the glitchless rule set, and you can actually use it. So
Oh, I did not know that. Nice. Well,
yeah, you can actually use double health upgrade in glitchless. And so now we're going to head to the new dungeon, which is called Mercy Dreams, and which has a really interesting boss called Ten Piedad, which was the boss that we had in
we're actually heading to Graveyard Peaks.
You're doing Graveyard Peak first? Okay.
Yes. Or am I? Or am I? Yes, I'm going.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. My bad. I thought that going Mercy Dreams was a bit faster, but I think no. Thinking about it,
it's I guess it's just the route I'm used to. So.
It's about the same. I think going Graveyard might be actually a bit faster because going down from Graveyard makes you be.
Yeah, it's probably faster than going up from Mercy Dreams.
Mm-hmm. So, the Convent of Our Lady of the Child Visage, which is the next place we're heading to. First, we have to go through this snowy arena, which is a lot of climbing. There are a lot of enemies that you need to understand because it's the first time you see them, especially the belly those enemies throwing jars at you that tends to be really trolly on your first playthrough.
Yeah. Casual player's nightmare.
And then we have the Graveyards of the Peaks. This is a really difficult level as it introduces the mechanic of the wind, where you get slowed down depending on the cycle of the wind. The cycle is always the same whenever you enter the room.
And it will also get reset when you enter the room. So.
Yes. That's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate.
Are you actually walking back to Tres Augustus?
Yes, I am. Because of course I did not pick up the safety checkpoint. Also, I didn't expect to fall to my death there.
Mm-hmm. And that's because of the wind. Because the wind was blowing to the right.
Yeah,
and
it probably moved me like a tiny little bit.
It moved you
to the right.
a bit because if you fall straight down from this ladder, you always land on hard ground. But because you actually triggered the collapsible ground, you had to fall into the emptiness.
It's okay. We got some leeway.
Might have a little bit of time to...
Of course, go ahead, yeah.
Yes, I'd like to just remind everybody while we're here, we're raising money to support Crisis, a charity supporting people out of homelessness for good. They achieve this through education, training, and support with housing, employment, and health. 90% of your donations will go towards supporting Crisis, and 10% will go towards helping UKSG support future events. Now, we have a couple of milestones ready to break. Only just a little over $128 to surpass Winter 2019's personal best. And we have some incentives for some upcoming runs. If you'd like to see the 10-minute Oblivion run, it's $280 out of $500, more than halfway. I'd like to put some money towards the incentives that we have. Get those donations come in, and I'll read them out loud here if you have any messages along with that. Thank you.
Awesome. Alright, I'm making my way back.
You should take the save point at the beginning of the word.
I should.
Just in case something goes bad. Of course, now that I've said that...
Yeah, probably I'll
commentator's curse.
I'll probably do everything first try now. Not needing any of the safety checkpoints. Kappa.
This game is gorgeous.
It is.
This game actually had some really interesting story regarding development. It's a game that was released in 2019, and it was some sort of a go-to game from the Spanish studio called The Game Kitchen. There were actually they had the first game release called The Last Door. That was a bit of half success. I mean, the game was good, but was not meeting the expectations. It was wanting. So they had concept arts and some prototypes going for Blasphemous, and they made a Kickstarter. They made a Kickstarter for the game, and the Kickstarter actually exploded. Like, it had really, really good results, and the game was going crazy as the Kickstarter was rising. So they managed to have pretty much every stretch goal reached for the game as the Kickstarter went up. The final result for the Kickstarter was about 666% of the initial donation goal, which is a bit funny regarding the overall thematics of the game. And so then they went into production. The game was a real nightmare, graphically speaking. As you can see, everything is pixel art, and especially the cutscenes are full pixel art too. But there are 1920p by 1080p, which is a nightmare as a pixel artist, because you have so much detail in every frame of every cutscene. And also, it was the first action platformer of a studio that was specialized in mostly narrative game, as The Last Door is some sort of an intrigue / thriller game. So it was a lot of a challenge for both developers, designers, producer, and stuff. They actually get in contact with Team 17 as an editor and a publisher for the game. And when they finally landed Blasphemous, the game had a huge success and a huge community. And so the game has a total of 3 DLCs, which are all free, which adds New Game Plus, some sort of Path of Pain-like features where you have several platforming challenges you can attend. And the last DLC gave access to a new ending, new bosses, and many new areas in the game. So the game now is a real masterpiece, complete with a lot of things to do and a lot of replayability, as you have many different challenges in New Game Plus. The game has an awesome general artistic direction, awesome cutscene and soundtrack, which really catches the overall atmosphere of the Spanish Catholic ambience that was in the 15th, 16th century. So it's a real good game to do as a player and as a speedrunner too, because the game has many categories you can enjoy and provide many different challenges. So if you're eventually interested in this game, give it a try. And if you're interested in the speedrun, we have a small but really close together community, exchanging a lot about how we find stuff, about everything in every version in the game. We had some more runners coming up on the beginning of 2022, which is really cool, as the game was getting more and more people playing at a speedrun. We have ranges of categories going from 20 minutes to an hour and a half about for true ending categories. And we're here in one of the toughest rooms in the game.
Yeah.
As you have those enemies going fire breath attack.
Okay, we did it. It's one of the scariest rooms, honestly. Just because it's like at the end of like this whole section where if you're low on HP, you can die super easily.
And now we have one of the most difficult boss, because it's a boss that is out of range of UpCC.
At least most of the time.
Most of the time. Which is called Our Lady of the Charred Visage. So the only hittable part is the sort of appearing brain surgery we can do to her. And this boss is basically going Dodonpachi on you, because she's going to throw a lot of fireballs, a lot of lasers. You have to position yourself right and to jump and attack at the same time.
Oh, nice.
And that's the attack you want her to do.
And not mess up, I guess.
And what you actually can do is to those wax spheres she throws at you, you can actually send them back into the open wound she has, and those do a lot of damage.
Dude, why wouldn't you cast? Okay, well, I guess it's the obligatory.
So yeah, at the beginning, when she rises up, she is vulnerable to some CC, so you can do a bit of damage to her. She'll always start with the 3 laser attack. After the 3 laser attack, she'll do a full fireball attack.
Yeah. And then it's random.
And then it's random. You should go a bit to the left. Yeah, right here you're good.
Yeah, well, I guess.
Basically, in order to have her spheres go back to her, you should stand under the hand, or where the hand is supposed to be.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
And then when she disappears, she actually can move up and down. If she moves up, you can actually only hit her once when she's in the air, when you jump. But if she's going down, you can actually hit her with up CC, which is really good.
There we go.
And that's it.
Oh, it's always.
So Cryfor did a save and quit right here because it skipped all the long animation of the boss dying and the Requiem Aeternam screen. So this saves up like 10 seconds maybe?
Yeah, probably.
And yeah, this boss is a nightmare as you're beginning the game. Because
Yeah.
you don't have access to your CCs and everything on it. And sometimes it's one of the first boss you encounter in the game.
Yeah, the first 3 bosses can be done in any order. So you could start up with her. Not recommended, by the way, but yeah. You can.
So now we're going to head back to Mercy Dreams in order to find our third main boss of the first part of the game.
Exactly. Just in case. Alright.
And for that, we'll use a shortcut.
One of the many elevators. Also,
Yeah,
grab a health here for safety.
Take the neck.
So I see people in chat mentioning the Switch version of the game. The Switch version is good as a casual playthrough, but it has many differences from the main game on PC, which makes that we don't use it as a speedrun version of the game, speedrunnable version of the game. But if you want to enjoy the game on Switch, please do. It's really well suited for it. So we're going back where the olive tree withers zone.
Basically, jumping down the mountain we just climbed up again.
You just have to be really careful not to fall down any pits.
Yeah.
There is also a small technique called hard fall cancel, where if you fall from high enough, the penitent one, which is the name of the character you're playing, will actually have to wait a bit on the landing animation. If you're fast enough, you can actually have a frame-perfect input on the frame you hit the ground, where you can actually slide and cancel the landing animation.
Yeah, just do frame perfect every time. Easy.
This game has a lot of frame-perfect inputs, but they are not mandatory. So now we are in Mercy Dreams, one of the zones with the most challenging platforms, because there's a lot of spikes, lots of enemies, fireball throwing enemies. And also, the Penitent one has a really long animation whenever he gets hit by spikes or enemies. And this animation can actually make you go...
How?
make you go into other spikes, so you basically get comboed by the hazards that are in the room.
Yeah.
And because you don't kill any enemy, all the enemies can team up on you. So this room tends to be really difficult the first time you do it. But the next challenge is this one. This room right here. Cryfor will start to heal a bit, because as you can see, there are a lot of things that can impair him.
Oh yeah, I just did, because I think you didn't mention it yet, just did a ledge healing.
I did mention it on the screen transition, but basically you can use the sliding momentum when entering the healing animation on anything. Would it be falling off a ledge or a screen transition, in order to actually cancel the healing animation, because the flask is used as soon as you press the button. And now we're going at 10 Piedad. So the goal here is to get close to the boss with the UKSG and to pay real close attention to his attack. Because whenever he slams both his fists on the ground, if you haven't done a prayer before, you're still vulnerable, because the prayer gives you a bit of invulnerability frames. Using that, you can stand closer to the boss and do a bit more damage. This is the boss that is intended to be the second boss you face right after the Warden. Yeah. So at that point of the game, we have a lot of attack. We have a lot of attack power, so you can actually do a bit more damage. And using UKSG, you can really go crazy on that. And with that, we have finished the first half of the game. The first hub of the game. So we have a bit of a cutscene right here, telling us that something is happening on the bridge.
So let's check the bridge then.
Unfortunately, Mercy Dreams is really close to the bridge, so we will have one of the most satisfying sequence of the game, which is climbing up the Mercy Dreams shortcuts.
Almost got me there.
But also, we have to go through this room again.
Oh, I beat the fireball. Nice.
So yeah, climbing up this room is a really satisfying feeling after you've come through all the Mercy Dreams arena stuff.
Might have an announcement or two here.
Sure, go for it.
Coming up later today, it's anybody's game for Quake 2. You can decide what weapon we'll be holding our hands in, if it's going to be left, right, or center. It's a bid war. Right now, there aren't any bids on it yet, and that gives anybody the advantage to choose from the beginning. After that, we do have another choose-your-own-adventure style of bid war for picking the CD and monster in Monster Rancher 2 DX. It generates a seed or monsters to choose from based on a CD database, so you could put some musical discs and it'll generate a monster to choose for your adventure. There's a bid index for that as well. So let's see some donations. Remember, we're pretty close to beating our 2019 summer best.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you as there is a boss coming up. So Ezras is one of the most difficult bosses to learn, as he has a lot of patterns, and you have to have a really good understanding of how the boss works and how he will be chaining his pattern together and where he will be in order for you to FCC. So first, the boss has a sort of a passive, is that whenever you hit him 4 times in a row, his next attack will make him invulnerable and be this sort of blue circle around him. And after that, if he starts to walk towards you, it means he will strike you. If he starts spinning close to a corner of the screen, it means he will go all the screen spawning different lightnings. If he does that, you need to crouch. And after he's gone under 40% of his health, he will try to summon his sister at some point. Sister being Perpetua, which we faced at the beginning of the game. And when he does that, you can actually stand under him and do a lot of damage.
Yeah,
because
and
you
I
can
just
have...
missed it. Nice. God damn it. It's okay.
But yeah, it's one of the most difficult bosses to do in speedrun, as you need to react to every option Ezras has. And the first attack is always a spinning attack from him. And after that, it's completely random. So there is no dedicated pattern you can rely on. You always have to rely on your overall understanding. Standing in the corner of the arena is a good strat, as it will lure Esdras in doing one of his attacks. The attack where he goes from one side of the screen to the other, making lightning everywhere, is actually really good, because it has a lot of vulnerability frames to it.
Oh.
This attack is one of the worst, as it's a bit of a feint that Ezras does. And also, Ezras combos you into his lightnings, so you get hit and launched further away, and then you get hit by the lightnings. Nice use of prayer right here.
There we go.
Okay, now he's summoning Perpetua, so you're going to kill Perpetua as you're doing up CCs to her, because you're doing twice the damage, but you're also doing twice the damage to Ezras. And you can actually go 40-50% of Ezra's health in just one up CC sequence, which was really nicely done. And by the end of this fight, you actually pick up a second prayer, which is called Taranto to my sister.
Big lightning strike.
The lightning strike, which is an attack that gives you infinite upwards range. And it's really good to activate some contraptions early in the game, and it actually does decent damage. But Virgil's, the first prayer, is doing a bit more damage.
Alright, let's see if I can get this skip here.
Yes, so we're going to have Cryfor attempt a nice skip. No, it's okay.
Let's do it again.
You can actually destroy the vine by hitting it.
Yeah, I know.
In order to get closer to... So in this area, the patio of the silent step,
There we go.
you have collapsible floors, like this one, and the enemies does not trigger the collapsible floors, so what Cryfor wanted to do is that he wanted the enemy to go all the way to the next part of the room and to do air impulse in order to go over the collapsible floor and not fall and not go the long way around. So this skip is actually making you gain about 30 seconds.
Oh, cool.
And now we have one of the worst enemies in the game called the Processioner. This enemy has a lot of health and has a weird hitbox that can deal contact damage to you pretty much without any reason. So you have to be really careful when facing it.
Yeah. His like mouth hitbox extends a little bit further than the texture is.
So now we're in one of the hubs called the Mother of Mothers, But this hub is right next to another dungeon, which is called the Library of the Negated Word, which is one dungeon we're going to do. This dungeon has a special mechanic where there are pages lying on the ground. But first, we're going to take a little trip back to the village of the game called Albero. And by doing that, we will be improving our abilities.
We'll grab a couple abilities for some skips here.
The first ability we're going to take is the Blood Disc. You can actually throw some sort of a projectile costing some fervor. And this actually gives you a bit more air momentum. It resets your air momentum so you can extend a bit of your jump. The second ability we took are attack combos. And you'll see one right here, where Cryfor uses the uppercut in order to gain a lot of height and to skip this part of the game by grabbing the ladder in the unintended way.
Exactly. We'll try this again here with an enemy this time.
But this enemy has weird properties. Yeah, and actually, it's Cryfor that understood how this enemy works. Because, as you can see, this enemy is making head spawns. But if you hit any of the head, but when hitting the enemy too, you will actually reset your combo. So you need to only hit the enemy in order to be able to do the uppercut. Otherwise, you'll kill the enemy and won't be able to perform the uppercut, and you won't be able to grab the ledge. So here we have a nice skip using the Blood Disc in order to catch the ladder.
Dodge the book.
Actually, in the first version of the game, you were vulnerable when you were pulling levers.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah, you can actually go and Blood Disc to the
left as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have not practiced that jump.
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. You actually have more.
Oh, come on. Alright.
Yeah, those boomerang enemies, would it be boomerang blades or boomerang
the book
books?
throwers are just the worst.
So as you can see, as soon as Cryfor landed on the pages, the ghosts started appearing, and they are doing a lot of damage to you.
Yeah, the ghosts are. Oh.
Here, a potion for a flask for a bit of safety, because this enemy right here does a lot of damage too. Okay. And we are entering the sleeping canvases.
Alright, another one of those areas where in casual play, especially earlier in the game's life cycle when they hadn't reworked the platforming or improved it. There are some very nasty rooms in this casually, with a lot of spikes and...
The thing that gets introduced in this part of the game are those pendulums. Those pendulums can hit you when you're midair, and they will be launching you, and they can launch you into the spikes.
Yeah.
As you could see, also the Living Tomb are an enemy that are really difficult to manage, as they are having a huge hitbox. But with up CC, you can actually defeat them before they are doing any damage to you. So here we defeated a Processioner, along with the Golden Body that are unkillable enemies, but you can temporarily deactivate them. And we are going to be facing one of the bosses from the second part of the game, which is Exposito. Exposito is a 3-part boss. There is the baby on the background that you cannot hit. And then there is the enemy called the Wicker Worm that has 2 vulnerable parts to it. The first one is the head. The second one is the rotten root that you can hit. So because it's a 2-part boss, you can actually have both the parts take damage and take profit from the air impulse damage multiplier thing in order to do 4 times the damage to the boss's health. Also, as you can see, there is sometimes a blue circle lying on the ground.
What?
And
Okay.
If
well,
you get hit by this circle, it
I
means
don't know.
that the baby will grab you, and if the baby grabs
Yeah.
you, it's an instant death, with a really gruesome animation where the baby actually rips your body apart. You don't want to see this animation.
No. And yeah, well, I'm pretty much messing it up right now, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Blasphemous in a nutshell.
You know, a lot of people compare this to Dark Souls with both aesthetic and gameplay punishment kind of things.
Yeah, I mean,
Actually-
I think it's classified as a Soulsvania, I think.
Yeah, it is, but to be honest, I don't really think it has more than the aesthetic. Gameplay-wise, it's not that different. It's not that comparable to a Souls game. It has a lot of differences because you don't lose all your money when you die. You don't... like, death is something that happened in the game, but it's not as punishable in Dark Souls. The game intends you to really understand how movement works than how combat works. So it's a bit different from Dark Souls, but
Alright, first try.
yeah, lore in item description is really Souls-like too. You have that.
There we go.
There we go.
Jesus.
Yeah, this boss can be really difficult. So now we're going to be heading up, back to the Mother of Mothers, in which we will have to face another boss that blocks us from accessing the rest of the game. But also, by doing the library, we have access to another altar, which rises up our attack power. So we are now level 4.
And we will get
Which
to level
makes-
5 as well.
Which makes 26
26.
attack?
Yeah.
26 attack, yeah.
Also, we just
And we-
collected our first of the 3 masks we need to actually go up to the final boss.
Yeah, because what happens is that there is a huge elevator later in the game, and in order to unlock floors for this elevator to reach, you need to have masks. So we'll pick up 2, and picking up those 2 will give access to a second floor that gives us access to another dungeon with the mask, and once you have the mask, you can access the end of the game.
It's eating my dodge input. Game, please. Stop.
So the mechanic relative to this part of the game is the sensors going back and forth. So you have to time your jumps in order not to get hit by, in order to jump when the sensor is not on the plane where the penitent one is moving, so that you can actually avoid getting that.
Speaking
and there
of
is also...
sensors, there's a big one.
Yeah, there is there are many rooms that are connected to this giant sensor that you have to time. And ooh,
Fortunate. Oh, come on, game. I clearly grabbed that ledge. There we go. It's okay.
now we have a bit of a skip using the cherub. So the cherubs are a collectible item in the game where there is an NPC that asks you to free his brothers, which is actually a giant baby coming out of a sword in half bowl with a really gruesome animation too. But yeah, this guy actually wants you to free his brothers, and when you have freed 20 of them, you unlock the fact that you can fall down pits without dying, which is really good. And now we have unlocked the dash attack, which is a really powerful stuff, and also a speedy tool as well. So Melchiades. Melchiades is an enemy that is carried by arms. You need to defeat the arms first in order for him to fall down. Arms don't have HP, they have some sort of a hit point system. Where an arm needs to be hit 5 times in order to be defeated. And then you can just damage the head as the boss is coming down. And when the boss is rising up, you can take profit of the arms reappearing to have air damage multiplier thing by hitting both the arms and the head. Because you have 1 to 2 inbox more than the boss's hitbox. So it's really good.
Alright, second mask.
And we have a bit of a cutscene.
We fortunately can skip.
And we have another cutscene. And now we'll be heading to the Archcathedral rooftops with one of the room I hate the most, which is this one. This cage angel right here was not in the first version of the game. They added it in the 2.0.22 patch, and this makes this room so much more difficult.
Agreed. Oh. Let me please cast my spell, thanks.
And we'll be arriving at the big elevator. And as we can see, each time Cryfor will be donating a mask to the elevator, some eyes will glow on the statues. Kind of referencing how the last gate is open in Super Metroid. Like how when you kill a boss, the eyes on the statue glows as well.
The hidden Easter eggs.
Yeah, there are a lot of Easter eggs in this game. There is a room when you have a picture of Shovel Knight.
Oh yeah, that's
and many other stuff. So maybe you want to take the warp?
Yep.
In case prison goes bad. Yeah, you just have to enter it.
Oh, okay.
No need to take the warp.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay.
So we will be heading to the prison. And for that, we have this room with lots of spikes, a lot of enemies.
A lot of fireballs. Especially this part always gets me.
And in this part, we have a processioner here too.
Nice.
Nicely done. And then, if you remember at the real beginning of the game, Cryfor had to face a boss which was called the Warden of the of the Brotherhood of the Silent Sorrow.
Nice.
And now there's 2 of them, but because we have raised our attack power, they're basically trash mobs at this point.
Just fall over. Also pretty nice that the guy from the right side jumped over to the left side. He could stay there
you
and just
can
spam.
take the save point.
Oh, right.
It's just that Kyorsei can be a bit of a troll, so it's a bit safer for the marathon.
Yeah, you're right. Alright, so we're following a very specific route here because we have to grab some keys.
Yeah, that's the mechanic from this part of the game, is that there are several doors that you can only open with certain keys, so you have to pick up different keys and stuff.
Okay.
So we have picked up the first key, which was this key of the
Scribe, right?
No, the Key of the Scribe
The second one?
is the second one. I can't remember the name of the first one. Maybe it's the Key of the Secular, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's secular. Yeah. You're right. I'll grab the Key of the Scribe here.
Also, we have those new enemies called the Screamers.
Yeah.
Which are actually doing a lot of knockback damage to you, and they often come in pairs. So when one of them is hitting you, you can actually get comboed into another one. So it's better to kill them. And as you could see, Cryfor is making good advantage from the dash attack he took earlier. And this lion head enemy was really... It was a really nice execution from you, because as you're standing close to the rail gate, the lion head is preparing his attack as soon as the gate opens.
Yeah.
So if the FCC was not quick enough, Cryfor would have 100% died from that hit.
Maybe not died, but at least got knocked back. I think I could survive one hit from them.
I'm more used to
New Game Plus.
New Game Plus damage, and in New Game Plus,
they are absolutely...
They are doing more than the current health you have now.
Yeah. Actually, I don't have chat closed, but honestly, I don't have time to look at chat. Alright,
so
Hearsay.
So this boss is kind of like Ezra's, as it has a lot of different behaviors that you need to understand and react to. He can actually send his sword around the arena when he's clinging up to the ceiling. He can have some dash attacks where you can take profit to the position he'll have by the end in order to do a lot of FCCs. You have to pay close attention to the sword, as it does a lot of damage. And Kirsey has a phase 2 that can trigger after he's lost more than 50% of his health.
There it is.
And he starts by launching the sword away from the arena. Then he'll do these 2 dashes across the arena. And now he'll start disappearing and falling from the ground at random positions, making those huge fire columns everywhere. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Almost got trolled by the fire columns. Because he has like 2 different movesets for the fire columns. He has one where he will target your position, and then one where he chooses random ones.
Yes.
So.
And the one when he chooses random ones is so difficult to react to, because when he's doing the random ones, he can actually spawn above you. If he does, then you have to dash, and if he doesn't, you need to stay where you are, but you need to pay attention to what happens.
That's actually not beyond 1 HP.
I can't remember. Does 2.2.22 have jump healing?
I think it does. I honestly have not practiced it enough to know for sure.
I know it's for sure in 3.2.32, because in latter version of the game, they kind of reworked how the flask animation works. So now, on current patch, if you press jump and flask at the same time, you actually instantly use a flask, but you jump at the same time. So that makes you completely skip using a flask. Also, it has a weird interaction where the jump is a bit smaller than the jump you used to do with a normal jump. So you actually can't make it to what you used to do.
Right.
Remember, don't save and quit after picking up the mask. You need to take the
teleporter.
The teleport at the right here.
Thanks for the reminder. So yeah, usually we would have skipped a lot of or a couple of those checkpoints and would now just checkpoint warp back to the big elevator. But it's not a big deal, we can do it with this teleporter as well.
And now we have everything to head towards the end of the game.
That's right. Actually, only 2 bosses left.
Well, more like 3, but...
I guess.
But I do have a donation.
Oh yeah, sure. Go for it. We'll have a little elevator ride.
Oh yeah. We've got $10 from Pointless Pixel, and that was a bid towards the Quake 2 weapon-handedness for left-handed. That has the advantage for the upcoming run. That's going to be next. Quake 2, and there's a bid war to select the hand that the weapon's going to be on the screen for the entire run. So get some donations in.
So now, we're going to have Crycenta, which is a bot that learns you how to parry.
Yep.
So you have a really advanced technique that you can use here, which is called parry jump, but it's really difficult because you have to frame perfect input a jump at the same moment you're parrying, and this will make you stay in place. But you have the strat here is to go really close to her and to have up CC as much as possible whenever she's close to you in order to get her down to about 50% of her health, where she does this attack, which unwraps the sword she has, and then she goes into phase 2, where she goes sideways from the screen. Then, depending on where you are in the arena, she'll spawn back at different places. And that's a really nice Crycenta. This was an awesome
wrong side of the
MLG,
screen, I guess, but
yeah,
it's
and
fine.
you actually managed to get her stuck in a corner doing her somersault and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a really good boss fight.
All right, and we're coming up on the final boss.
So Father Escriba has 2 phases. The first one is where he's in his Pontiff form, where he will start casting spells at you, teleporting around the arena. So Cryfor actually did the same thing that he did with Crycenta, where he engaged the fight with a dash attack, because you can't move and the trigger is pretty far away from the boss. So by doing a dash attack, Cryfor is moving a lot right next to the boss as the fight begins. And that's the worst attack he can do. So basically the strat here is that you have to wait for the boss to finish his attacks.
Oh, I hit it nice.
And the dash attack has a really long, lingering hitbox that you can abuse to hit enemies on the long way. And now we have phase 2. So phase 2, the boss is basically invulnerable, but there's a sword, and the sword has an eye that you can kill. Once you kill the eye of the sword disappears, the current pattern of the boss gets cancelled, and you can actually damage the boss as the head will be open. But you have to be really careful, as the boss head is really up in the air, and there are some platforms appearing and disappearing on a global cycle. So you have to be really careful about that, and Cryfor is actually not having a lot of amount of health.
That's okay.
But that's okay. Once the sword gets destroyed, so now he's a really good position. He can actually perform a 1 cycle on this.
but it's okay.
It's okay, you got this.
Ah,
No!
okay. I was anticipating the pillars.
laser?
Yeah, the pillars. Right there. It's okay. If like the...
Maybe if you've used the thunder, would have gone a bit better, but...
Yeah, I mean, if I just didn't take so much damage on the Cryfor fight on him, it's fine.
But yeah, phase 1 as Cryfor can be a really trolly fight because you can't anticipate what he's going to do as a... So yeah, during phase 1 and phase 2 you have this miracle sign, which is this sort of berserk-like mark in the shape of an 8. Depending on the color of the mark, you can actually anticipate what the attack will be. So if it's red, it's going to be fireballs. If it's green, it's going to be bubbles. If it's blue, it's going to be lightning. But in phase 2, when it's purple, it can be one of two things. First one being the huge laser pillars. Second one being the darkness lightning stuff.
Yeah, also like the other lasers. Yeah, this. Yeah.
And the laser can go from the center of the arena to the side of the arena, or they can go from the side of the arena to the center of the arena. So you have one of three patterns to react to.
Oh. How did he... What? Okay. I don't know what happened here. Why he changed from one...
It's because when you kill the sword, the current patterns get cancelled.
Ah.
He finishes the current pattern and he switched to another one.
Well then. Let's kill the sword again, I guess.
When the boss can do animation cancels too.
That would be awful. And this would have been a nice
Spot for PCs. Actually, I think you can use the yeah, that.
to kill the sword.
Yeah, that's a really nice use of the invulnerability from the Prayer in order to tank
There we
through
go.
the thing. Really nice.
Time is coming up in about 45 seconds.
So yeah, time will be on the black fade out after Cryfor is trying to get from on the top of the mound.
Of the ash
Right in the
mountain.
next room. Yeah.
Yeah, got a little overestimate, I guess. I'm sorry, but it's a hard game. Alrighty.
So yeah, at some point the penitent will start sinking in the ash pit, and once the
Screen
top
is
of the
black.
hat and
time.
So yeah, good run, Cryfor, good run. It was actually a really good showcase of many of the strats.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for having me, UKSG, again. Thank you, Rocher, for your commentary. It was awesome. Thanks to the whole small Blasphemous speedrun community, our great Chinese runners Lee Zero and Elton Zhang. Yeah, thanks to the Game Kitchen for making an awesome game.
And Blasphemous 2 coming up 2023.
Oh yeah, Blasphemous 2 is scheduled for 2023, right? So definitely looking forward to that. So yeah, without further delay, since I went a little overestimate anyway, I think Quake 2 was next, right?
That's right. After intermission, Quake 2. It'll be Quake 2 with Blue Royale here after the break. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.